This is Shayna from wordofmouth.org, and I'm here with wordofmouth.org crash course speaker, Geno Church. Geno, can you tell us a little about the class you'll be teaching on May 10th?
Sure, Shayna, I'd love to. It's really going to be about how to get people talking offline, and that's a very interesting subject. But it's also a subject that too often we are so concerned about the online because it is far sexier due to social media than offline. But offline is really where the recommendations matter, the ones that really that go out to become a recommendation for a purchase or to try something, whatever it may be. So that the subject's going to be around getting people to talk offline, but we need to talk about online a little bit too. So I'm also going to bring into play the balance that if you do offline very well, it's going to get people to talk offline very well, and it also works vice versa.
Great. And what are the top 3 lessons people will learn in your session?
Oh, geez. Well, I think going to that first thing is that I want to come out of the gate and get people really to understand a more of an agnostic point of view, and especially when it comes to social media and to word-of-mouth strategies. It was said a couple of years ago that social media is word-of-mouth on steroids. Well, it's coming to bear truth, and we'll talk a little bit about statistics of that's not really accurate, that the number one driver is these face-to-face conversations. So, social media is sexy, all these apps, these wonderful things, but we have to remember that there's a person behind that keyboard. And just because they say they like us or they leave a post or a comment, that is just the start of a talking point. So that's one of the things that we'll talk about. And another part is that if you really want to engage in offline word of mouth, you've got to really trust people, because that trust is going to give people a permission to share why they love your brand, your products, your services in an authentic way that might be different than your brand speak. Their speak's going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be pretty damn meaningful. So you got to trust people. And then I want to touch into some new research that I think is pretty phenomenal, that starts to talk about the conversation drivers of online and offline WOM, and that they're very different. So I want to kind of jump into that and talk a little bit about the drivers of offline WOM as well as online WOM.
Perfect. What is the biggest mistake brands make when trying to get people talking offline?
I think there's quite a few things, and I have to admit, too, we've made a bunch of these same mistakes, and I don't think you can ever be perfect when it comes to offline, because you're going to be face-to-face with people, or you're trying to get people to be face-to-face, so it becomes very real and authentic, and it's messy. I think a lot of times as a brand and as an agency, we want to control the conversation. We want it to be about us instead of about them. We want to create the party instead of going to where the party is. And that leads us down the path of promotional, manipulative tactics, that when you hear a lot of people talk about offline, it's these grand gestures, it's events, it's street marketing tours, it's creating an immersive an experience that's immersive. And those are all great. But what our goal really should be at its core is to get people to have a conversation with a friend, a family member, an acquaintance, somebody at the water cooler, whatever that may be. So I think sometimes we get so caught up in creating conversation opportunities, we forget that just natural WOM is what it's all about. So, I hope that kind of touches on where I think we all get caught up in that, because we're in the creation business of conversation or messaging. We want to create it and make it happen instead of find a way to drive people and motivate them to share why they love us.
Yeah. So what is your favorite word-of-mouth story of all time?
Oh, I'm going to save my favorite of all time, my car story, probably for my talk. I'm a crazy, wacky mini club owner, but I will share something that I go to a fairly large chain. My wife and I go almost every Saturday night, and it's Bonefish Grill. And the reason we started going there, 4 years ago, and we probably go 3 to 4 times a month, is that the first time that we went in one night after a party that ended early, we decided to go have a drink, and we sat down at the bar, and Kiyoki, the bartender, came over to us. Instead of saying, what do you want to drink, he put his hand out, and he introduced himself to us. And he said, hi, I'm Kiyoki, what's your name? And he did that to me, and he did that to my wife. And it started a relationship that I have at the bar with every bartender that's been going on for 4 years. And the point of that is that's a person that's creating a remarkable interaction that I talk about. And that's what makes it amazing. And I tell people all the time, they say, where are you going? I'll social signal. I'll do it on Foursquare. I might do it on Twitter. But I usually tell people, and I inevitably, at least one Saturday a month, I invite a friend or some other friends to come meet us. And so, it's not a fantastic, super crazy word-of-mouth story, but it's a brand that lets its employees advocate for other people and become their friend. And I think it's a really nice word-of-mouth story that's real simple. And I'll share a fun one for the crash course.
I like that, and a teaser for the actual event as well. Perfect. Well, that is great. Thank you so much, Geno. And that's all the time we have now, but you can come to the wordofmouth.org crash course in Austin on May 10th to hear more from Geno Church and for one day of love, happiness, and word of mouth. Go to wordofmouth.org/crash course to register.